Demi, good morning. How are you?
I am good, cold, but good. How are you?
Also cold, also good.
Great, good start.
I'm a little caffeinated, which is always nice.
Same, not overly caffeinated
Yeah.
just yet, just that one coffee.
Yeah. It's a sweet spot just before we need to start getting stuff done, right?
Exactly. Before you get into that jitter mode. You're like,
Yeah.
okay, I took it too far.
Yeah, it's like I can't think now, but it's fine. The coffee was good.
Everything's going really fast. My heart's
Oh,
racing.
well, this conversation's been a long time coming.
Hmm.
And like I've been following your journey, and not in a creepy way, I promise. But I said like crossing paths on LinkedIn and stuff,
Mm,
and I've been following where you've been, and I'm really glad that we get the time to sit down and have this chat,
me
so you
too.
can share some of the stuff that you've done. But before we do that, for people who maybe don't know you, give us a little intro to you and what you do.
Okay, I hate when I do this stuff because you seemingly forget who you are, everything you've done,
Okay.
what your name is. I'm Demi. I am a writer, I guess, by trade is the easiest way to encapsulate everything I do. But professionally, I'm a copywriter. I went full-time freelance around about almost 2 years ago now. So I work B2B mainly with brands all over the world, helping craft their brand stories, their obviously copy, their content, and just trying to bring a little bit of creativity to what they're trying to achieve and really connect with their audiences. Earlier this year, I launched a creative agency called Sonderscript, which is very much rooted in my other one true love, which is screenwriting. So I've tried to merge the disciplines of storytelling from screenwriting into our approach to branding, and helping again clients, whether that's their personal brand, whether that's their business, find that narrative that's really going to hook their audience. And on the screenwriting topic, I have just submitted an 87,000 word PhD in screenwriting. So I'll be part time lecturing again for year two, at the University of Huddersfield. Big up. um, in screenwriting and genre, but all being well, in February, once I do my final exam part, I'll be becoming a doctor in creative writing. Although I'm branding it a doctor of creativity because I just think that sounds cooler, frankly. But yeah, that's a bit about me. And oh, and I recently turned 30. For any 90s babies out there who need a little bit of little love this time because it's hard.
It is hard. That's incredible.
It's
Like
stuff.
you've been a little busy.
I've been a little busy, and in 2 years, I one thing I am proud of for myself, which is something I very rarely used to say, is how I've managed to kind of change my life around 180. And for anybody who is thinking, I'm nowhere near where I should be in life, like 28-year-old Demi was at the brink of giving up completely. I'd gone through heaven knows how many different careers, like trying to figure out, well, what's going to fit. Hated everything because I hate being told what to do by other people. But then was late diagnosed ADHD at 28, 29 years old. Serious mental health issues up until that point because of, and had nothing figured out. I had all of these like starts and dreams and like did a little bit, got so far, but didn't do it. And then, like I say, 2 years ago, I just kind of went, can I swear?
Yeah, you can.
Fuck it. You know, I was miserable and I was like, if I've got to live the rest of my life this way, frankly, I don't want to do it. So I hit rock bottom and I was like, had no plan in place. I didn't sit and wait until a perfect moment to like quit my job or have enough money in the bank behind me. I just went, I'm doing it because where I am right now is horrific and I can't imagine doing this until whatever retirement age is or is going to be in the UK. And I was like, nah. So everything else just seemed like an up. So I've been busy, but every day has been a new greatest day of my life, if you get what I mean. There's been some real downs in that moment, but nothing
Mm.
is ever going to be as down as where I was. So sometimes it's finding that breaking point that's enough to propel you forward and motivate you to keep the discipline, I guess. You know, motivation and discipline, two separate things there, but like keep going, because the fear of going back to a place you
Mm.
don't want to be is just enough to keep that momentum. So busy.
Busy. That's an incredible frame, that everything post 2 years ago isn't up. We don't often hear that. Like we say, oh, well, in the moment, living your best life and doing all those things, and you've grasped the opportunities. But to actually say, no, everything that I'm doing is a step ahead from where I was. I mean, how does that feel to you as someone who is 2 years later down the line?
I mean, it feels amazing. So much so when I think about it, like I could cry with like joy, because I think we've all gone through some real difficult times, especially over the past sort of 4 or 5 years. Like,
Mm.
and everybody, has mental health and struggles at some point and goes through that. But for anybody who's been in that very lost stage, to find almost the thing you all always knew you should be doing, but society perhaps, being a writer, to be a writer, a pay writer in society is a very difficult thing. And, my dream was always like, I'll go do screenwriting, and that seemed the only way to do it. So to have found and unlocked a way to make that happen, and have all these awesome people, yourself included, like responding to that, wanting to work with you, wanting to talk to you, you're sort of crafting your own world. And I think we're told that now you've got to go, you've got to get a job, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, and we feel very like constrained by society. And to be able to have broken free from that and do it on my terms, even when days are really tough, and don't get me wrong, I have some real tough days. There have been days where I go, I'm gonna quit all this, because that's just me. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm okay with that. But then I look back and I remind myself of, yeah, but look where you were, and look at all the things you tried to fit yourself into, like a jigsaw puzzle, and they didn't work. Like,
Mm.
here is where you belong, and if it's good, it's supposed to be hard. I think we see like hard as this negative, whereas hard actually is what helps us progress and get somewhere. It's just choosing that hard. And we
Mm-hmm.
do have, everybody comes from a different set of circumstances, and I won't blanket everyone can do the same thing I've done, or, I didn't have children or a mortgage or things like that to think about. But there are a lot more options we can take if we just sort of assess, what is it I truly want, and what does that look like. And yeah, it feels, I went through a real stage of burnout this year, because I was submitting the PhD, and I was running the business, and I was, launching a new part of the business, essentially bringing people into, like, so we can grow, and doing like, I'm a travel writer too. I was
Yeah.
traveling at the same time. I was doing all this stuff, and I did burn out. And then I decided to redecorate all my house because ADHD impulsiveness. And I was just like, oh my God, what have I done? This is it. It's like I'm going through a cycle. I can't do it. And then I've just come out of super exhaustion. I'm still exhausted, but I'm so excited, because I think the options now are limitless. I can go where I want, do what I want, try what I want. Like you were saying, you're launching, something else, or doing like this creative idea. Like for a creative, as soon as you untie yourself, you know that you're responsible for your happiness, which we all are, but we don't
Mm.
feel as, like I say, trapped, I suppose. That for me, defining what success looked like to me was as one word, and that was freedom. Like
Yeah.
we all want money. Well, that equals freedom. We all want to travel or spend time with our families, do nice things. Like ultimately, that comes down to freedom. And doing this and working for myself has enabled me to get closer and closer to that idea of freedom, and unlock so many more freedoms just on a daily basis, that it's hard to feel negative about my situation, even on the stressful days, because I feel so grateful.
Mm. Again, it's huge. because you've said this is what my freedom is, not, oh, the freelance slash self-employed world says this is what freedom is. You know, sitting in Bali with your apple tea tray and a Mai Tai.
Great, and that's amazing, and then
If you
that's
want to
like
do that, you do you, you know?
yeah, I get to try like what that was one of the things like when I was in employment, like I've managed restaurants, I've worked in
Yeah.
retail, I've been an executive assistant, I've done everything you could think of, right? And but the one thing that really got me is I never traveled, I never took time off
Yeah.
because you were given this blanket 20 days, 28 days of holiday a year, but
Yeah.
like eight of them are bank holidays, and you can't take them here and you can't take them there. And it depressed me to hell thinking that's the only freedom I get. I felt like I wanted to keep hold of these days, so like precious things, and also not earning very much in employment meant why would I travel? Why would I see the world? What? How could it like? And having to ask somebody, like, ask,
Yeah.
can I please go live my life? No, because so and so is like running, and I get that it work like businesses work that way. I'm running a business now. I have to understand, but too much restraint. And now, like, a great part of my freedom is if I want to go away, I can go away. I can work where I want.
Yeah.
Chances are I'm still going to have my laptop open every single day, but that's me even if I'm at home on weekends. I don't recommend that to other people, but that is a freedom. However, selling that as this is happiness for everybody, well, that's also stressful too.
Yeah.
Like I just like so, going away and trying to run a business or freelancing, same difference. Like working a while away is hard. It takes
Yeah.
this particular mindset to be able to not go, I'm going to have one more Mai Tai and screw the rest of
Yeah.
this
That's
work,
it.
you know?
Mm. I mean, that's that's interesting. I mean, earlier on, you sort of talked about you mentioned so motivation and discipline maybe as two separate things, or two things that need to play off each other.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
How does, I mean, knowing a little about you as I do, and you've mentioned it, the ADHD diagnosis, and I mean the compound effect of unsatisfactory work. How does that maybe fuel the motivational fire? But then again, how do you wrangle that with the need for discipline?
Yeah, I mean it's so tough, and it's something that I'm still I don't think I'll ever master, but still trying to get my head around it. And I think, that's not a new thing that I've come up with. That the two separate things. I've read it, I've heard it somewhere else, and I was like, it makes sense because motivation, you're not always going to have it, but you need to, as you know, as a business owner, you need to repeatedly show up.
Yeah.
Even when your world is falling apart, you need to show up because people rely on you. And, I say in my business there's very little that constitutes an emergency. And I mean that in the respect of if something comes in the way of our mental health or our physical health or just our well-being, it's not worth it. We're not saving lives here. But
Mm.
at the same time, we want to produce good work. I want people to feel happy and motivated, and like they can thrive in an environment like I say to our team, like, we want to do things that we enjoy. Of course you're going to have to do menial admin tasks, they have to be done, but if you're not loving the work you're doing, especially in the creative space, you're not going to be motivated. And then when that motivation is not there, you're probably not even going to be disciplined either, because you've got to at least like the thing that you're doing to be able to go, right, this is worthwhile. And the same goes for sort of like personal life things and just sort of getting up. It's that reward center, especially with like ADHD. It's you need to somehow, like, motivation is the dopamine. Like
Yeah.
ADHD people lack dopamine, but that's nothing different to the neurotypical folk. Like, we all lack dopamine on certain times, days when we're stressed, all this stuff. So it's about how can you influence that dopamine production, and that's where the discipline comes in. You create a small reward center around what you're doing. Whether it's like, you're going to work in sprints, 20-minute sprints, 5-minute breaks, like boxing off, so a lot of people suggest to like eat the frog method, which is do like the hardest thing first. I find actually the best thing is do the easiest thing first, because doing the easiest thing first takes the little effort that by doing that and ticking it off your list, or writing it back on your list to tick it off, if you're like me, will give you that little hit of dopamine to go, hey, right, okay, I feel rewarded with this. I'm going to keep going.
For real.
But also knowing when to stop is one of the things that I'm really getting. And this is what does help with discipline. Listening to your body rather than pushing through and doing those crazy 14, 16-hour days, working through the night, working on the weekend. And I champion this now with everybody I know, because I'm like, there comes a point where your brain can't produce, or your body can't do the thing at the level that you want it to do. Therefore, you need to take that rest and come back, because otherwise you're going to create work or do something that's not to the level you want it to be. So therefore you're going to have to do it again, or you're going to have to make edit, or you're going to have to do all this stuff. So, communicate with people, let them know where you're at. Again, unless you're a brain surgeon or you're, working in, and that's not to discredit what we do as creatives. It's just a case of there are things which like require that immediate, like right now, like things can't be changed, and people work in those disciplines. That's so much more stressful in a way. For us, we do have that, and we know that we can create better and produce better if we listen to our bodies, if we listen to our minds, and if we take care of ourselves. Absolutely. That's the same for everybody, but we work on different paces, and I think there's a lot of pressure out there that forces people to do more for less. And I've worked in those workplaces where people want you to bust every hour of every day until you are literally burnt out and you can't give anything, and no wonder people don't feel motivated or disciplined to achieve things, or then do things in their own time, like go to the gym or go for a walk or eat well, because they're like attached to something else where they can't make time. You've got to make time for discipline. You've got to literally sit with yourself and say, right, I know you're not feeling like it today, but can you do, giving, if you've only got 40% in you, but you give 40% that day, you've given 100%, haven't you? It's like 1% improvement. All of the stuff that you hear on the podcast, it's true. And it's about, can I take a little bit of that? But you can't do it if there's no time for you.
Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely,
putting yourself first actually, is the most important thing, and doing it for you. Like, you're a project you're working on. Give yourself that much attention, and then you'll find, well, like I say, do I actually enjoy this thing I'm doing? Freelancers fall into that trap, and everyone I've spoken to as a freelancer said the same, because it can be very up and down in terms of income. You say yes to everything, and then you end up with a bunch of stuff on your list where you're like, oh, I don't really want like this, or it's not because you don't like that work. I would advocate for anyone to be more choosy, be more like strategic in who you work with, because those things that if you flourish in that environment, you're really motivated, you're likely to earn more, you're likely to create a longer relationship, and you're likely to just flourish as a person, have more time to actually grow and, take it at that pace and see what happens.
100% saying no is a superpower.
Yeah, I need to master that this year, because I'm a people pleaser at heart as well. And Hannah, my amazing copywriter and marketer, that's part of Sonder. She's like, Demi, this is your year of no. You need to be really disciplined with your time. Your time's because I say yes to everything, and then I overwhelm myself, and then all of this stuff I'm saying to you, it's like, well, how can I be because I will always fall into the trap of whatever's on my list for me will come last. I'll always put it back to, right, everybody else comes first. And that mindset shift has been happening to me over the past couple of months, going through this burnout, been like, I can't deliver what other people need because I can't deliver what I need. And it's going to end up in a much worse place than if I just say no more.
This is it. This is it. And it doesn't need to be a negative no. At any point, does it? It's
No.
I am introducing balance
Mm-hmm.
into what I am doing. So that's an interesting question. When you made the shift from quote unquote freelancer
Mm-hmm.
into I'm a business owner now. So it was under your banner and now you've got Sunder.
Mm-hmm.
What did you let go?
I let go of control because
Interesting.
in order to, and we, you know what, I will remain hugely accountable for this. And I think anybody who wants to make that transition should understand that to have a business with other people in it. So I don't like when people discredit freelancers as you don't have a business, because bloody hell, you are like a 10-man, one person
Yeah.
business being a freelancer. But when you bring other people into the mix and you've got their day to day and their expertise and, you know, their hopes and dreams in your pocket, not just your own, you have to relinquish some control. You can't, I never thought I would be that kind of person who's like, you know, micromanaging people, but it's very easy because you take your baby, which is freelancing and your existing clients and how everything works and how you've already done things, and you have to adapt that to other people's ways of working and learn from what's best. And you know, in the interim of like trying to make sure nobody was stressed out, I was taking on too much and trying to do too much and help too many people. Actually, the best thing to do is just go, I trust you.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you're here. Like, I know you're fantastic at what you do. Run with it. And honestly, when you do that, people, it's going to go one of two ways. People will either sink or they'll flourish. You're the one, as a business owner, that needs to have that backup plan if it goes one way, but then you're the one that benefits from letting people be what they're best at. You know, it's a Steve Jobs quote, which is like, you know, have the great ideas and then hire better people who are better than you to execute them. Like,
Absolutely.
literally that. And you, as a business owner, I think you should be incredibly hardworking. You can't expect your team members to work as hard as you. You own the business. You earn the businessness,
Mm.
you know, but at the same time you have a standard that comes in. Let them run with it. Give yourself the brain space to work directly with clients, bring in business, work on projects, direct a lot of that stuff, but also be coming up with the new ideas, be looking at like how you can support growth. And you can't do that if you don't let go of being a freelancer. You have
Mm-hmm.
to just be okay with delegating and trust people, which is very, very hard to do. Like, I've been burnt one too many times in the business game. Um, you know, it's my first business owned, but it's not my first rodeo in terms of being at the forefront of business development and, you know, people who are building businesses. So it's hard to trust, but if you want to be successful, you need to learn how to and just prepare for if it doesn't work out. That's your job. Everything else, leave to the pros.
I can't come back in with a question there because that's just underline absolutely that. I mean, I fully understand that mindset shift
Mm-hmm.
because being a business owner, yeah, you are absolutely right. Self-employed people, freelancers, it's a business. You
Mm-hmm.
have a business to run. If you are taking money from someone else who has paid you for services, that's a business.
Mm-hmm.
But there is an element of control that I think comes with I'm going to use a word I hate, solopreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't like that word. Um,
What do you suggest we change it to? Because
I
I was
don't
feeling that way
know.
about it, but I'm like, so it fits. I
It
was like,
does
it
fit,
works.
but
And
it's a company of one.
yeah,
It's like, but that sounds really sad. Like, I don't know, party of one, table two. I don't know, but the word itself just makes me a little bit skin
yeah,
crawly.
it's one of those where it's gotten that, like, it's just too buzz termy now. It's
It
like,
is.
because an entrepreneur, is a solopreneur until
Yeah.
they decide to get other people on. In
Right?
which case, it's not. It's the same. What's the difference between a free? I don't know. You're a human being at the end of the day. Do we need to
Yeah, you
brand
are.
ourselves like we can just be who you are? You're creators. In all respects. These people are creatives. To
Mm,
build anything, you don't have to be slapping paint on the walls or writing um, marketing campaigns to be a creative.
this is
If you're
it.
building something and you're delivering something and you're strategizing over something, you're a creative.
I'm going to pull that thread for a second because I've had this is one of the things the drums that I bang very frequently is that everyone has a creative streak of some kind because as you say if you are building something it's a creative pursuit. Maybe for the kinds of clients that you work with who aren't on paper creative,
Mm-hmm.
how do you help them foster that?
Essentially, the way I look at creativity is it's problem solving.
Hmm.
That's all creativity is. It's thinking outside the box, but also what you can do with the box and how you can, it's all of that. Like, and anybody who's in business, anybody that has a job role, anyone that's a bloody human being, you have creativity within you. And because it is often defined by the arts and the, showmanship of that stuff, people think, oh, I'm not creative. But
Mm.
you have your own unique way of addressing situations and problems and dilemmas and working them out and how you approach things. And anyone who is a business owner knows that there's a unique set of problems that they're trying to solve for their audience, for their clients, for their customers, and they've come up with a solution for that. How can you say that that's not creative? It's just tapping back into that and allowing them to have that knowledge of, oh, okay, yeah, I understand that.
Mm.
And so my point of view is like going into those stories, like what is that we get dig real deep into that mindset of your target audience. I have a lot of conversations with people going, oh, I don't actually know who my target audience is. It's like you do, it's just I'm here to help you organize that, because if you've
Yeah.
come up with a product you already know who that is. If you've got a business you already know but you can't see them as clearly, my job is to help iron that out for you.
Mm.
And then it's to spark that, like if I come to you and go, right, this I'm going to do this one task and you're going to be creative all of a sudden, it won't happen. That's not how it's about being able to have a discussion like this. It's about being able to take people on a journey and unlock what's already like inside of them and help them feel motivated and noticed. Like I always say, like your brand's not the main character, your audience is. But in that moment, for me, those brands and those people are the main character. And a lot of the times, these people don't get that attention to talk through their thinking, talk through those many sleepless nights they've had thinking about this great idea and this business and how they want to address it, because they're either stuck in the day to day or they're in startup mode or they're looking to like reimagine the same thing they've always done, but they have it within them. I'm just there to feed it out and let that flow, and then they feel that real buzz of, hey, someone's listening, and I've got someone to bounce these ideas off of, and that's where people are most creative, when they're connecting and when they're conversing. And I think because of the changes in the world, we do that less and less and less. Yes, we share super creatively online, but like you say, it's the same people saying the same things over and over again, but it's not
Yeah.
people getting to have a that engaged one to one. I think that's where the shift is going to happen with communities, with social media moving forward as well. It's about how can we inspire one another to unlock those parts of us that we've maybe been taught. People get told at school, you're really crap at art, you can't write, you can't do
Yeah.
this, so therefore they assume I'm not creative because those things are attached to creativity, when that's not the case. They go off and they do something very logical, analytical. Again, there's creativity in that, being able to assess that stuff and place it all together and get an outcome or make strategies from it. Creative. But they'll shut themselves down, they'll hear that teacher that told them they were crap, and then they'll think I can never do that stuff, so they turn away from it. until someone turns to them, like yourself, like me, and says, that's hella creative. And then you end up with them coming to you constantly with ideas and things, and that nothing makes me happier than when I'm getting
Yeah.
voice notes from clients, I'm getting emails, and I'm getting suggestions. And I'm like, that's my output. Other people might measure it on, we got X amount of impressions and we did this. It's like, well, I sit in the in between bit to help people get to that stage, but also help people feel revitalized in the mission they're on.
I love it so very much. It sounds like the work that I do and the work that you do very much are at the similar
Yeah,
intersection between the
absolutely.
person and the professional. And it's that little crossover of the
It's
Venn
just
diagram.
humans at the end of the day.
They're
Well, other than
people.
like all the AI stuff that's going on, which is fine. It's just that's humans creating more help for them wherever
Yeah.
that goes. No Terminators, but businesses are people. Even when you're in the B2B space, you are selling to people, and we forget this.
Absolutely.
And we get when we say brand, brands become this all elusive figure of this, but the human needs to be in the brand. And if you can't dig deep into the founders or the marketing managers or the people that are running that stuff, then you're basically emulating all that, say, ChatGPT does.
Yeah.
Because you're just coming up with something that doesn't tap into what your audience really want to know. You're not tapping into the you and that's why sometimes you've got brands which look one way out here, but then the actual people who run them look wildly different. You get a Victoria's Secret in its situation, which is fine. Hugely successful brand. A lot of bad stuff behind it, but it's not
Yeah.
genuine. It doesn't sit to values. It doesn't actually connect. It eventually gets found out for being lies.
Yeah.
So, we've got to open up people to go, right, why? What is your why behind what you're doing? And that's where the creativity sits, because that unlocks limitless avenues of where they can go with that why.
100%. I think there's a lot of protectiveness over people unburdening themselves with this information. But do you think that creativity can ever not be collaborative?
Yes, absolutely. I think creativity doesn't it's great when it is collaborative, but thinking of writing, when I started writing, I started like self-teaching myself screenwriting at like 14, 15 years old, and I did most of that up until my early 20s with not a person ever seeing it, or and I suppose if you went to the root of it in terms of collaboration, then yeah, you're looking at like what inspired me, what show, like, so technically, yeah, underneath it all it is collaborative. But I think for the wider audience perspective on that, I'd say you absolutely can do it. Gain your confidence in being creative alone. That's where people feel less exposed, and creativity is a very vulnerable act. For the likes of you or
Yes.
I, who have been probably creative since the day we were born, like that seems really easy. It's like, of course, you want to share with people and do things, but even I get terrified of sharing things in a class of people, or having people read my work or review it or offer feedback. Like, it's awful. So for someone who's just starting out with that, saying that it can only be collaborative is probably enough to stop someone even trying at all. The nuance behind it, though, for the creators which are deep down in this and stuck here forever, is that yeah, it, like, art is just stealing things. And
Yeah.
for anyone who doesn't get that phrase as well, no, it's not plagiarized, it's not doing that. Stealing means we're constantly stealing inspiration from other people's art to build upon the art that exists. And art being anything new we create that we deem to be valuable, inspirational, emotional, whatever it could be. Definitions aren't my strong suit, but I think it's subjective ultimately. Creativity is subjective. So is art. So is the way we create it. I think there'd be many a writer out there who prefers to be locked away in a room and never ever be spoken to, but create some of the best stuff. But you can't argue they're not influenced by the world around them and everything they've read, watched, experienced.
Yeah.
Um,
That influence just shows up in a different way for them.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's it. It's our art is our interpretation of the world. Creativity is
Mm,
our response to it. Um, and I don't think there's any right or wrong way to go about that.
yeah, absolutely. That thought kind of ties very nicely into the big kicker of this podcast. Because obviously, this is all about journeys. This is about your journey, your experiences. And both you and I know, and probably a lot of people listening to this know, that when you begin your self-employment journey, or a transition into a new phase of that, you carry with you lots of assumptions and preconceptions and ideas, quote unquote. I would do big bunny ears, but this is an audio medium, so that's terrible. But quote unquote truths. So, what has been one of the big myths about this business journey that you have busted for yourself since you began?
That employment offers more security.
Interesting. Go on.
I absolutely categorically will not stand for anyone saying that being employed is a more secure way of living. Because,
Yeah.
yes, okay, there are ones which make more sense to the individual situation, it does take a hell of a lot of the discipline part of it to run and be freelance and constantly be on looking for work and managing that. It takes a lot to be on there, but under no means is it more secure to have an employer and have that paycheck coming in. In fact, it's no different. You show up and someone promises they're going to pay you. But I think if anyone pays attention to what's been going on over the past couple of years in the news, you can work for the biggest companies in the world. You can have been there for heaven knows how long. A pandemic can hit, all of this stuff, and you're out of a job just as much as the freelancer's out of a job. But the difference between you and them is they get to decide how much they get paid. They don't have to jump through hoops to be told they're worth something, or they might get a promotion one day, or they might get this. They don't have to ask for their time off. They don't have to, beg, plead, scratch and scrape in a bunch of, office or workplace politics, And again, this isn't we are business owners. We run businesses. People work for us. But I don't employ anybody at Sonder. I'm making a massive point of how my business is going to run is it doesn't require employees. I'm bringing together a curation of the best people in the biz who will work on projects. It's bringing those freelancers together to go, hey, I don't control you because I want you to live your life. And I will give you a contract to say, hey, I will continue paying you as such for the next X amount of months, 12 months, whatnot, but you are free to work, do, act, be wherever you want, as you please. Because, and then also I say, if you want to change or you've got another opportunity that comes along that's bigger and better and this, that and the other, and you need to go, then go. I want you to be encouraged to go on your own path. But also feel that I've got you. Because I know a lot of freelancers as well, they don't get their contract sorted out. I'm one to blame for this when I was doing it, don't get it in writing properly. People can drop you like that, but so can your employer. There's the employment rights in the UK alone is up until 2 years, you basically have none. So, you can be gone in a heartbeat. People can make you redundant in a second. Things can change. Things can be great one minute. The next minute, you've done something to upset somebody who's, and it's just so much to, all you're wanting to do is get a paycheck and go home and live your life. But you end up being sapped into something else for very little reward. And this is my opinion, totally my opinion. I'm sure there's so many people that could argue different, but from my experience, I spent a long time thinking, oh, I need to have this, and I need to have this title, and I need to be going here, and I need to have X amount. And I just thought, freedom to me is far more important, not having a stack of cash in the bank, but it does offer that freedom, having the money. But if you're motivated and disciplined enough, you will guarantee yourself as much as you need. And we can argue about the economy all we want, but if economy is not working for freelancers, it's not working for the employed either. You know, everyone's just as at risk. It's just dependent on how hard you're willing to work to keep somebody employing you or keep somebody paying your invoice. But neither is more secure than the other. And I'd argue, personally, working for yourself is more secure. But it takes a certain type of person to be able to make that life work for them.
Just taking a brief pause on that, because that is firstly very refreshing to hear, because we often get told that it's, yeah, you're right, it's not secure, it's not safe, and it makes me very sad.
It's fine, don't do it.
Yeah.
Stay with the golden handcuffs and stay feeling secure. But you know, I could show you plenty of situations where people thought they were bloody safe, and then they're not. But again, that's everybody has their own choice in this game, and I'm not ever going to profess and be that person who goes, everybody should do this, because then you're sending people into a false state of security, thinking that they'll be okay fending for themselves. It's the hunter-gatherer situation, isn't it? If you're not willing to go out and hunt and get the stuff, then yeah, actually that is more secure for you. Figure out what you need, but don't then go telling other people as well that, oh, it's really insecure. No, you're just scared of it, is what you are, and you don't want to do it, and that's fine, and that's not negative either.
Yeah.
But don't squash other people's dreams and ambitions because you'd rather ensure like that paycheck comes into your bank every month. Good for you. Great.
Absolutely. You got to do you.
You have. And like I say, success looks different to everybody. For some people, success is being able to guarantee that the same amount of money is going to come in every month because they've got a family, they've got a mortgage, they've got a house, they've got family to look after, you know, like, you know, there's so many different factors to consider in someone's situation before, you know, I'd never shit on somebody else's choice to stay employed. Like, I wish that'd be amazing. Great. That if it worked for me, then I'd be happy as Larry, but it doesn't work for me. And for a lot of people, it doesn't. So it's hard to see somebody else's perspective, like when you've not been in, for a lot of people, that position. And, you know, coming from someone who's maybe never worked freelance, if they're going, oh no, it's never guaranteed, you're gonna, says who? You've not tried it. Why should I take advice from you? Right? You've never tried it, you've never given it a go. And then on the flip side, if they have tried it and it didn't work for them, well, so many things don't work for so many people. Like, would you not eat healthy because like your aunt like tried eating healthy and decided that McVitie's biscuits were better, so now it's got like, would you give up on that? Like, everybody's different. Give it a go, but be willing to do a lot of work, but don't buy into the belief that you are guaranteed a level of security and employment, because as I was told a long time ago by someone I considered a friend, business is business. And I hate that. But you know what? There's a big truth to it in wider society, and business is business. And when an employer needs to make a decision, you really do come down to a set of numbers on their profit and loss sheet. And it doesn't matter how close or great of a bond you think you have. And that, you know, that's a story for a different day. But I think we just all need to get in our heads, we go to work to earn a living. We don't go to work to commit our souls. So, you know, to be able to live this life and create things, I adore what I do, but I also know that I'm a human being outside of work. Too many people get trapped into that false sense of security and never end up living their true lives. And like I say, there are so many caveats to all of this. It's too much of a nuanced conversation, but I'm glad that I busted that myth for myself, because I've made a rule to myself that never, ever, ever will I go back into employment.
Amazing. We could go on. That feels like a very powerful
We'll do a part two.
time. We'll do a part two.
We'll
That
do
feels
a
like
part two.
a very powerful way to wrap this up, and I think a lot of people will benefit from hearing that in such a positive way, a powerful way.
I
So,
think it's important to add though as well to that you know I am so influenced in life, right?
hmm
I guess it's why I work in, I say, marketing and more like creative strategy, but like in the marketing realm, it's why I understand how all this stuff works. But it's important to understand what's right for you. Don't just listen to someone on a podcast or on a YouTube video or in a book and think, okay, well, if I follow their advice, everything will work out for me. Like, because nobody knows your story in depth as you. The reason my brand is called Sonder, so the word Sonder is referring to how, like, when you're looking at passers-by in the street or wherever you are, people watching, that everybody has a life as detailed and as complex and as nuanced and as funny and as rich as you do. They have a story as complex as you do. And putting this like blanket assessment of, yeah, this works out and this is this and this is that, is where we're losing nuance in life. And everybody has a unique path. I don't know their set of circumstances. I don't know every single little thing that happened to determine, like, there is no formula to this stuff. So listen, take that inspiration, take, like, you know, if something hits and you go, suddenly feel fired up, like, yeah, it's time to, then probably deep down it's something you've been wanting to do. But never listen to some gal on a podcast or someone in a book who's done it. And because it's funny, isn't it? These people always come from a place of success. I can tell you this now from a place of it's worked for me, but would I have said these same things 2 years ago? No. So it's so tough, and you've got to forge your own path for yourself and figure it out. Just take messy action every day. Is my other thing. Like, make
beautiful.
mistakes. Don't be afraid to fall. Just keep getting back up.
Love it. Love it. Where can people find you? What can they do to get in touch with you, to talk to you, to work with you? How do they do that?
I'm running away. No. So LinkedIn is probably where I hang out the most, how albeit I have been not the best on it at the moment because busy, burnt out, and just like, oh. But LinkedIn is the best place where I'm active. Demi Aspey, writer, I think my tag is, but Demi Aspey. You can get in touch via sonderscript.com as well, is our creative agency. You can work with me directly on a consultancy basis or with our agency team, depending on what your creative project is. We strategize. We have our script labs, which is a one-on-one with me. It's an hour and a half, where we can unlock that creativity and see what magic can be created. I can drop an email link, I guess.
Links in the show notes, folks. Links
Yeah,
in the show notes.
we can pop that down. But yeah, they're the best avenues. Or on Instagram as well. So I've got a whole plan to revitalize our social medias and mine in the new year. So it'd be awesome for anyone to follow along as I add 17 more projects to my list. But you know, come with me and watch it too, because there's no perfectionism in this game. It's just about throwing stuff out there, seeing what sticks, and having a good time. So
Amazing. Well, there we go. Demi, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been an absolute joy.
yeah, this has been an absolute pleasure, and please let's do it again very, very soon.
You know we will.
We will.